أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا كريم. Allah, we ask you to increase us in knowledge and to increase us in the benefit of knowledge and to increase us from your vast bounty. Jazakumullah khair for coming in the cold weather. It's been rougher the past couple of days, so it's easier than us just to still chill at home and rest. MashaAllah, you guys have high zeal and you have commitment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. Like today, inshallah, we will step aside from the text as promised, and I'll address some of the questions that were given last time and a couple of ones that were repeated, and just kind of put them all together. Hopefully, that kind of helps maybe close the section on Qadar bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So we'll do a quick recap and review. And I tried to name it frequently asked questions about Qadar. If it goes well, alhamdulillah. If it doesn't, I'll adjust it. And stay tuned for survey about the class. I welcome all kind of feedback and suggestions. It's easier to internalize a subject. It's always more challenging to pass it on. Try to teach it. So I'd like to know if it was beneficial or not down the road, so one knows, does this get repeated again? Does it get tweaked and changed, and so forth? Or maybe it's good, but it's good for a specific audience, and so forth. So all that kind of stuff, put it in mind when it's time to share it. Okay, so these are the two main things. We'll do the recap and review quickly, and then we'll do frequently asked questions about Qadar. Most of them were said from you. Maybe others were said throughout the weeks. So I put them, and I think maybe added one or two more to them. Uh, it's not an exhaustive list, but I hope it's a useful list. Okay, inshallah. طيب. We read the text from the beginning last time or the time before that? I have a feeling we did that before that. Okay. Or did I make a mistake? Yeah? Okay, so maybe that's what we did. So we read the text from the beginning till the line about the Quran. Yes, we did. Okay, no, okay. Then we overviewed the key points about Qadar that he mentioned, and we mentioned four benefits of believing in Qadar. Correct? Okay, so I'm not moving my mind. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so that was good. Like, in terms of review, here's a couple of questions. I'll try to run through them quickly. Our session shouldn't take too long. So let's do this. Who wants to do the first one? How would you summarize belief in Qadar? We have four people, so each one will take one.
So what's the question again?
First one, how would you summarize the belief in Qadar?
Allah decreed everything prior to creation and nothing happened except by it.
Okay, so Allah decreed everything, and everything that happens is according to His Qadr. Great. Type second question. A statement by the early Muslims, originally in a hadith, that summarizes their way of teaching what Qadr is. Who remembers it? If you remember it, mention what it is. Someone else other than Faris.
What is the hadith about Qadar? Is that what you said?
No, there's a statement.
Mm-hmm.
The early Muslims, Sahaba and otherwise, would, if someone asked them about Qadr, they would just take that phrase from the hadith, and that would be their summary of what Qadr is. Can anyone remember it? Yeah, you can. Has to do with hitting and missing.
Oh,
It was not Faris, someone else. Isa saw it, so Isa might read it. No problem.
Oh yeah, it is knowing that. Okay,
You say it,
yeah,
yalla.
it is knowing that whatever was meant to hit you will hit you, and whatever was never going to hit you will miss you.
Yeah. So whatever will be decreed will come, and whatever was meant to miss you and not come your way will come. طيب واعلم أن ما أصابك لم يكن ليخطئك وما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك. Actually, thank you for asking. I did double check, and the text in Arabic is on the course page. And on the course page in the course material, the text both in the Arabic and English there. The Arabic one has the link, and the English one has the link. The English link is the link to the actual text. The Arabic one is linked to the book, and then you can either read it if archive opens at your browser or whatever, or you can open the PDF. Good. Okay. So far, brothers 2, sisters 0. Try to catch up to make it fun. They're cheating? No, no, we gave them a chance. They asked permission. They're not cheating. Number three. طيب, this is for you, يا أستاذ حمير. Do we become morally responsible by the rationale or receiving the divine message?
Sorry? Do we?
Do we become
Mhm.
morally responsible by our rationale or by receiving the divine message from Allah?
I have no idea what the question means. You understand this? What you like?
Do we become mukallafeen, morally responsible?
Okay.
Are we asked to obey Allah and disobey Him? Based on our rationale, we use
No.
our minds, we think,
Mhm.
we discern between good and bad, and that's what we do, and we realize, oh, deen is good. Or we become morally responsible when the message receives us and we respond to this message. That's how we know.
No, when we receive it, we just leave it.
Good.
Yeah.
خلاص ماشي. جزاك الله خير. طيب. And Yasmin, what are benefits in belief in Qadar?
The benefit of believing Qadar is
Anything. I think mention four. Try to mention one or two.
okay.
Yeah, they don't have to be exact.
I have the
ماشي يلا. أيوة.
tranquility.
ماشي. That's one. طب how tranquility? Tranquility, sakina. How does belief in Qadar relate to tranquility and sakina?
So don't overthink. Like, I mean, from my understanding, we don't overthink it. It's just like we believe everything is written for in a good way for you.
ماشي.
So Allah is a good planner. So that's how. So like because we don't know. I mean exactly that why happened.
Hmm.
It's just because something like was planned in a way that could be like in a way that like will be benefiting you in the future. So
Okay.
that's how I understand it.
ماشي. Okay. طيب, any other benefits?
So we don't have fear of the future?
ماشي. We don't fear the future. We can just face it. Good. It's kind of courage, or even the present, right? The present and the future, we approach them with courage and tawakkul as much as possible. Anything else? Want to move on? Any more benefits? We're good. Right. Good. Review them in your notes. So, like I said, these are just suggested benefits. You'll find many more. And always try to benefit them. And reading the Quran itself, you'll find a lot of these benefits mentioned explicitly and implicitly. Okay.
Hmm.
But frequently,
We can only see the title side.
pardon me?
We can only see the title side on the.
Whoa, that's fun.
Ah, that's why I kept saying the question is right there.
I thought you're okay.
Okay, no, because it's yeah, it's the
Oh.
chord. Okay, my bad. I apologize about that. No, thank you for that. So these were the questions. It was moving on my end, but yeah, it seems this chord I have to. I'll skip touching it. There we go. Okay. That's why they're confused. What do you mean? Like the questions are, I'm reading it from the things. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Right. There we go. Right. Frequently asked questions about Qadr. So can you explain Qadr in a nutshell? I need clarification. Is there a difference between Qada and Qadr? Why didn't Allah guide everyone? Does that contradict Him being merciful, subhanahu wa ta'ala? If everything is decreed, I'm still confused about responsibility and accountability in terms of us having a choice. Does dua change qadar? How can one understand that with whatever Allah wills will happen? What does the hadith of should be humans, having the rizq, happiness, and sadness uh, decreed mean? Does it mean that happiness and misery are just up to fate? And I added this one, hopefully to kind of recap everything. What do I do when I'm confused about decisions? What is Salat al-Istikhara? Can it help me in understanding all of this? I hope this list is good. We'll go with one by one. Good? Still visible? Can you explain Qadar in a nutshell? Here's my crack. طيب?
So is that like it's gonna be new lesson or review? I didn't get okay, so is that a new lesson or
Yeah, خلاص. So we did the review.
okay.
Now we're going to cover the
Oh,
second
you
part.
split
Sorry,
it.
sorry. Okay, let me go back to the outline. Now you're
I
going
see.
to. This is our outline.
Outline is gonna be frequent question about
Okay. We did the recap and review. Okay. I took some of the questions you guys mentioned last class, and I remember some questions were repeated to me in the previous weeks. I added to them some more.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. See, I'm hooking you guys up. I have your question, your question, I think your question. I don't remember a question from you, but I kind of selected some things. Don't worry. You know, it's
Okay, we might have more
you're a
questions.
programmer, so I'm kind of at least I'm following logic. Yeah?
Exactly.
Okay, what do you guys call when you fine tune your code? Uh, what's that word you guys use?
Debugging,
No, not debugging. When you have like lots of lines and then you shorten them and they do the same thing.
optimizing.
Yes, yeah. So I'm trying to optimize. Okay, طيب خلاص. So now we are at this section. Okay, so I just overviewed the questions. We'll take them one by one. Okay, and I tried to make them general and then move on to more specific. Like, can you explain qadar in a nutshell? So here's a possible answer. Believing in qadar is obligatory as per the sixth pillar of iman. The word iman dropped, although I looked at it, I realized it dropped, and I could almost swear that I typed it, and I probably erased it. Sixth pillar of iman, as mentioned in Hadith Jibreel, it refers to that nothing happens except by Allah's knowledge, will, and permission. Many key texts summarize these key points, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, إِنَّا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَاهُ بِقَدَرٍ and وما أصاب من مصيبة إلا بإذن الله ومن يؤمن بالله يهدي قلبه والله بكل شيء عليم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. Indeed, we have created everything perfectly preordained. No calamity befalls anyone except by Allah's will. And whoever has faith in Allah, He will rightly guide their heart through adversity, and Allah has perfect knowledge of all things. But you cannot will to do so except by the will of Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. Surah Al-Qamar, Surah Al-Taghabun, Al-Takwir, there's many more. Okay, fine. I added some literature to kind of add not the three ayat, but at least two of them. They give a little bit more info. Okay, that's a summary. Good. Like, let's take a little bit more detail, or for people like detail. In the prepositional phrase biqadar, meaning that the word qadar literally denotes to measure and to create something with a proper measure and proportion. It is possible for this literal sense, meaning this is the linguistic word, to apply in the current verse. Allah is the supreme sage who created every species of the existent entity wisely with proper measurement, whether big or small, different shapes, sizes. Having created, he maintains the structure of every individual in a very wise measurement. The fingers and toes do not equal in size, the lengths are different, the lengths and breadths of hands and legs are wisely structured, and their bones, muscles, and skins are created flexible to stretch and contract. When we analyze every single part of every single limb and organ of the human body, we discern the wondrous vistas of divine wisdom opening up. As a theological term, okay, qadar is used in the sense of taqdeer, as a part of belief, right? Divine predetermination, predestination, preordainment, possible transitions, right? Most authorities on tafsir, on account of some versions of hadith, take the word qadar here in this sense. Okay, like, okay. So that's kind of qadar in language, qadar in aqidah. Okay, let's take other words. I think this is on the other eye. In other words, referring to the ayah, it is a reality that not even a particle can move without the divine will, without the will of Allah. No one can harm or benefit anyone. If a person does not believe in Allah and the divine destination, he would not have any means of comforting himself when a calamity befalls. That's why the ayah refers Iman and finding rest, right? He receives it with despair and gropes for means of alleviating it. A believer, on the other hand, who reposes his faith in divine will and destination is guided by Allah, and his heart is filled with peace and tranquility. Allah will guide his heart to certainty that whatever difficulty afflicts him could never have missed him, and whatever adversity has missed him could never have afflicted. As a result of this belief, he is promised a reward in the hereafter, which he keeps in view all the time. This strong belief in the promise of a reward in the hereafter alleviates the worst calamity of this world. So now here is combination between qadar and its benefit and its meaning in these kind of like basic summary. Okay, that's question number one. Question number two. Someone got the summary, they're okay with it, but they still want to know a little bit more. All right, I need clarification. I got it. Is there a difference between qada and qadar? And qadar and qada and so forth? Fine. So, qada refers, or at least in one of the interpretations, qada refers to the knowledge of Allah Most High of how things will be, and qadar refers to His creation of things according to His knowledge. Okay? Some scholars define them the other way around. So qadar would refer to the knowledge, and qada refers to the existence according to the pre-eternal knowledge of Allah. Right? That's probably similar to the ayah. إِنَّ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَاهُ بِقَدَرٍ. Everything is measured, okay, and then it's created as so. Okay. Does this have any aqidah bearing to us? No. Does it have any practical bearing to us? No. But we get the idea. Okay. Whether one of them refers to knowledge, one of them refers to how things become, or the other way around. It's possible this way or that. So if you read them in books of aqad, you would not be confused that some scholars say this, some scholars say that. I think that one was easy. Number 3. Why did Allah guide everyone? Let them all guide and enter Jannah. Does this contradict him? Okay, good. Being merciful. Obviously, we probably know the answer, but let's fight. I tried this answer. Firstly, Allah is not asked why. It's one of the biggest slips because He's not to be asked about His creation in His own dominion, right? The right way is to approach guidance from the angle of understanding and wisdom, right? We're not asking why is a challenge. Perhaps we're asking what is the wisdom of? Sure. Okay. But having said this, let's take an analogy. If you're a student in a subject or an employee, right? Right, you would probably prefer, if it was your way, right, to have all questions and answered at the beginning of the class. You don't have to study and go through all the hassle and then maybe just know all the answers before the exam. And give me 14 weeks and I'll prepare. So, or have everything paid in advance. I have to count your hours every week and just give me the lump sum and I'll show up. It's nice. That's human human nature likes that. We like the results without the effort or with less effort, right? Like in advance prior to your work shifts, but that's not how studies or work normally function. Correct? Likewise, life is a test to display who will respond or reject guidance. Guidance and misguidance, while totally in Allah's permission, are not random or without wisdom and clarity. The Quran is filled with qualities of the rejectors and believers, so we can emulate them if we are sincere. In fact, Allah clearly mentions in the Quran that He would not benefit by anyone's good deeds or bad deeds. And He sent messengers to establish decisive proofs, not just proofs, decisive proofs, bayinat, right? To their people and warned them from the fire. They didn't just come and say, they didn't give them the info. No, they clearly said, I'm warning you. There's an ultimate fate. It can happen like this, it can happen like that. And I'm here for you to choose Iman and good deeds, right? They didn't come and hide this fact from people. In fact, it was the central call to their people. Okay? And invite them to the eternal bliss of Jannah. Iman was not meant to be a surprise pop quiz for humanity, but the message from the all-wise Supreme Being. So, in fact, we know when we talked about moral responsibility that Allah said what? That He wouldn't punish until He sends messengers. Never. Check all the stories of the Quran. Never was there a punishment except after a messenger was sent. And not only after the messenger was sent, they saw the signs, they saw the miracle, they had a lot of time, then the punishment comes. And if you ever get lost to that, just read the story of Sayyidina Musa. They literally went to him when Allah sent punishments, like the plague and whatever, and they said to him, pray to Allah that He relieves us from this, and we'll believe. And Allah relieved it from them, and they didn't believe. And then even come to him with adab. وقالوا يا أيها الساحر ادع لنا ربك بما عهد عندك إننا I don't want to make a mistake in that ayah. فلما كشفنا the next ayah فلما كشفنا عنهم العذاب إذا هم ينكثون. Right? I forgot the beginning of the first one, but they basically asked him to pray. And then Allah says, and when we relieved the test from them and the punishment, what did they do? They broke their oath. I know they swore, we will believe. Just let this happen and we're down. It's a lie. And it's not like that's hidden from Allah. Allah knows. Like the sincere ones from them, like the magicians, they believed. In the beginning, they were just doing their thing. But when they saw the mirror, they're like, okay, this is not what we're doing. We know magic. This is not magic. Just like the Arabs, they say, we know poetry. This is not poetry. We know good literature. This is not. This is beyond literature. This is something else. They were just mesmerized by the Quran, so they went to something else. They did other tactics. Right. So, question number 3. So, can't think of. If everything is decreed, I'm still confused about responsibility and accountability in terms in terms of us having a choice. Can we say something about that? Hopefully, let's see. Like our belief that Allah knows everything and that everything happens by His permission does not mean we are compelled to act. Even now, did anyone compel you to come to the? You can sit at home. You came. Your choice. You could have sat in the children's program. You came here. Yeah, you could. Somebody's drinking coffee. You might be drinking chai. They're not drinking anything. We know when we're compelled or not, right? There are things in life that we're compelled. I didn't really pick my birth date, and I don't think any of you did. Yeah, some things are compelled on us. We didn't pick where we were born. Huh? We don't pick sometimes when we heal. We take the medicine. We don't know. Sometimes we heal in 2 days. Sometimes we heal in four. Sometimes we get that cold that lasts a week and a half. There are definitely things that are out of our control. But in the big picture, we're not just compelled in everything, right? And remember, I think people usually bring that when they have like they know they have shortcomings and they use this as a crutch, right? No, like okay. Nor does it mean also like we're not compelled fully, right? Like nor does it mean it's opposite that our will and actions are independent from Allah's will. Remember that, "وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ," right? And Allah forbid that He knows our actions only after we perform them. No, Allah knows what we will do before we do it. We can't conceptualize that because we can only learn through experience. Or we can learn, even when we use analogy and rationale, we learn based on prior experience. We're just not using practical experience to it. We're using something from before and we're using our mental functions to it. But we don't use mental functions in a vacuum. You don't imagine something you don't know. Man. You've got to imagine something about it. You ask people, at least give me its height, give me its width, give me something, give me its name. And then you start imagining, oh, you know, but but that's us. That's our limited knowledge. Like uh, then he knows our actions only perform them, which are qualities of creation at the Creator. Okay, good. We believe human beings choose, acquire, and gain their actions through choices. They choose, and Allah creates based on their choice. Always, not always, sometimes, yes, whatever, but Allah creates based on people's choices. And then He judges them on that. If they choose good, they take good. If they choose bad, they do. Like, furthermore, we believe that without the ability to choose, as, for example, one being unconscious or dead, right? One is free from moral responsibility. The dead is not mukallaf. And the one who's unconscious, they're alive now, alhamdulillah, they're not currently mukallaf. So if someone, just hypothetically, someone falls unconscious before Ramadan, and since the whole Ramadan doesn't fast, this person sinned, لا, right? Contrary to their roommate, they heard the announcement, they ignored, they were sinning for 30 days. So one person has a choice, one person doesn't. Like taklif in Arabic. If we carefully look at all the aspects of responsibility, okay, that we have, they are all related to the matters of choice, not the matters of compellment. Like what beliefs to hold or not hold, right? What worships to do, what contracts to uphold, what characters to do. Huh? And the Quran and Sunnah are replete with that. We're not. We're always asked to choose what is better, not just kind of submit to reality as it is. We know this even from fasting. If someone insults you or is aggressive with you, you tell them "Inni sa'im, inni sa'im." That's a choice. I mean, you can push it back, eye for eye. They swear, you swear. The Prophet ﷺ is guiding us to something different. That means what? That we have a choice, right? That we choose. Allah told us that He created humans and showed them the two paths. إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكر وإما كفور. Or in Surah Al-Balad وهديناه النجدين. We guided him to the two paths, meaning what? We showed them. This is good, this is bad. As Allah showed both paths, He said, no, I don't want this path. Right? I want the path of good. Right? I will this, but I don't want it. Right? I showed you both, but I want you to turn to one of them or not. Okay. He invited humanity to do the former and avoid the latter, meaning the good path and avoiding the bad. While sending messengers to warn and encourage people to follow His straight path, Allah gave humans a unique responsibility. Unlike animals that have choices but a limited capacity, sorry, the word in dropped there, nor angels that are compelled to do good. It's one of the signs of Allah. I did create a creation. Obviously, we only know this through the messengers, but if we think about, okay, here's a creation that is compelled only to do good, and Allah doesn't hold them responsible. They don't have hisab yawm al-qiyamah. But what's that middle creation that has a little bit? They have animals, shahawat, but they have like angels, higher faculty of thinking, discernment. Okay? Like the angels, they have the capacity to do good, but they actually have to choose and work with it and struggle and whatever. And animals have a choice, but they have a very limited window of choice. They just choose based on their instincts and their limited life path. They travel in the cold and eat this and hide nuts, and then they eat them later, and they get scared of you, and they just have the okay. They're wondrous creatures, but they limited. The human is higher than that. Right? That means okay, we got to reflect on that. If Allah gave us that uniqueness, then what do I do with it? I just think about it and not do it. No, I apply it. I choose properly. Right? So angels are only capable to do good so that they can choose carefully and direct their choices to good. Allah willing to close. Remember, we ask for guidance 17 times a day usually. Reflect upon that. If it was useless, why would Allah tell us, guide? Ask, 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 ask. It means what? It means that we are aware that there's a straight path and there's slipping from it. And not only that, I know that people have slipped. There's a maghdub alayhim, there's a dhalin, and I don't want to be there. That shows someone who thinks about responsibility, even if they don't know what it is, but they're trying to learn it and do it, or they're struggling with it, or they're working with it. They're trying to achieve it, not leaving it totally and then hanging it on. That's just a crutch, wallahi. You know. So one should reflect on Allah. Next. I want to actually go through them. Listen, no, for a reason. In case it comes up, I've saved you the thing. And if not, I'll help. Like, remember, we ask 17 times a day. So next question is what dua. And trust me, that was not prepared by me, but I felt good. I was like, oh, they're linking together. So does dua change qadar? And if it is already destined? Similar, but like, so why should I do that? If everything is destined. And plus, wait, we were reminded by Faris that there's dua change. What does that mean? How do we understand those two concepts? I'm not necessarily صح. I have two principles. I know them. So how do I bring them together? Like, okay, let's see. So the scholars describe, and this is helpful. Once sometimes in various topics, sometimes you find these categorizations. They kind of just fix things up. They termed something القضاء المبرم and القضاء المعين. Right? القضاء المبرم, absolute decree. Okay, this is willed in eternity. This isn't subject to change, and that's normally what we refer to in qadar. We say we believe in qadar. Allah's will is supreme. Fine. But there's also a relative or conditional decree. This is what can change. This can be referred to as apparent destiny for using yani, a translation. Okay, this is what one of the Mashaykh here in Canada suggests. So some imams who comment on this hadith, they bring this concept. That the meaning of all such reports, this big imam, Ibn Furak is big in history, he's not a small figure. It says the meaning of all such reports, meaning the hadith about qadr, the hadith about charity, pushing back illness or something like, how do we, okay, Muhammad, this is qadr, like, how do they work? Okay. The meaning of all such reports, now he's bringing them as a general principle, that is what is in the pre-eternal knowledge, is what happens eventually. As that, if he supplicates, then a calamity would be deterred away. And likewise, if he gave charity, not that what is known pre-eternally, that a calamity would afflict one, then dua came and changed. So meaning in the pre-eternal knowledge, if the sahab does dua, the calamity won't come. If the sahab does pay charity, something will get lessened. Okay? That's already in the qadar. Okay, not that there was something and then the dua came and then that changed. Okay, why does it say so? Okay, because that will entail that this is knowledge without decree, and that is impossible. Whatever Allah knows is whatever Allah was happening. It's not like Allah knows something, decrees it, and then it happens in a different way. No, Allah knows and decrees that if someone responds, this result will happen. If someone prays, this will happen. If someone maybe seeks مثلا whatever, this will happen. Allah. That's what he's trying to say. That's how you bring it together. In the pre-eternal knowledge of Allah, it's no. ماشي. That's one thing. Right? Similar quote, but maybe a little bit more clear. But this one gives us the principle first. For Imam Hajar al-Asqalani, famous muhaddith, uh, famous commentary on Sahih Bukhari and Hadith sciences and so forth. He says, elimination and confirmation is regarding the knowledge of the angel. يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. In one of the ayahs, Allah says that what He eliminates and confirms whatever He wills. This refers to, it seems to refer to qadr. So how does this work with dua and other things? So he says this is regarding the knowledge of the angel and what is in the master record. It contains Allah's knowledge and there's no changing it of whatsoever, and it's the absolute decree, while the former is the conditional decree. So the conditional decree is what the angel knows, مثلا, for example, versus what Allah absolutely knows. That change, the one that angels have access to, written whatever, that can change. That's what they see. That's the limit of their knowledge. They see something different. But the absolute knowledge of Allah, absolute decree of Allah, that doesn't change. Like, upshot is we keep doing dua. We realize that the Imams have a way to bring these hadiths together without them conflicting. Or without any of the belief matters um, being in conflict with each other or anything. Okay? So upshot again, that's what the dua refers to the uh, conditional qadr and doesn't refer to absolute qadr. And then from that end, or from that angle, if you understand that, that's what these hadiths mean. Okay? And the upshot of that, that's just from a, almost like you could think from a theory point of view. The upshot of that, we keep doing dua. Because even if we understand, all this is hidden from us. Like, I don't know what will. And no one wise says because they don't know, they don't do. So I don't know you guys are coming today. So maybe you have a WhatsApp group and one says I'm sick. Oh yeah, me too. I'm gonna chill. Well, you all sit at home. Why I won't show up just because I don't know that you're coming? That'll be very weird. You're like, what is this guy? How does he think? Especially teaching a class and he doesn't have. So, but again, I'm not saying that usually people have questions. Just no, no. In fact, the Sahaba asked. That's coming in the next one. The Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ, if everything is decreed, what's the point of knowledge? Sorry, what's the point of action? Or they, some of them said, like, should we act? He said, yes, act. اعملوا اعملوا فكل ميسر لما خلق له. Oh, okay. They got the idea that this doesn't contradict with that. This is one point, and this is a different point. Allah knows everything. Keep acting. Do what's good. You don't know where you're heading. You don't use that to just sit and do nothing. Not in dunya, not in deen, not in anything, not in hobbies, right? You give it your best. Like, it's the one that you asked. Right? What does the hadith of human having the risk, happiness, and sadness decreed mean? Well, similar. It's more specific. Does it mean that happiness and misery just up to fate and nothing is going to change? And if I'm decreed miserable, I'll just be miserable the whole time, Debbie Downer, Hall of Fame, right? Or I'm just like Tigger, I'm always happy the whole time, even if calamities fall, I'm just bouncing around, right? Always like as if I drank six coffees. No, like this refers to not the linguistic translation that we might think in the mean. No, it refers to shaqawa and sa'ad in the final abode. And that's what Allah mentions in Surah 2. يوم يأتي لا تكلم نفس إلا بإذنه فمنهم تقي وسعد. On the day, no one dares speak except with some of them will be miserable, others joyful. In what? In the absolute sense. In Jannah and Nar. فأما الذين شقوا ففي النار لهم فيها زفير وشهيق خالدين فيها ما دامت السماوات والأرض إلا ما شاء ربك إن ربك فعال لما يريد. That's the first group. Second group وأما الذين سعدوا ففي الجنة خالدين فيها ما دامت السماوات والأرض إلا ما شاء ربك عطاء غير مجدود. And by the way, the hadith also refers to this. So this, first let's see this part. And I think by mistake I didn't include the hadith. The rest of the translation of the meanings, some of them will be miserable, others joyful. As for those bound for misery, they'll be in the fire, where they'll be sighting and gasping, staying there forever, as long as the heavens and the earth will endure, except what your Lord wills. Surely your Lord does what he intends, and as for those destined to joy, they'll be in paradise, staying there forever. Okay, and here's also same Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says وهو شقي باعتبار ما يختم له وسعيد باعتبار ما يختم له كما دل عليه بقية الخبر. He is miserable or or joyful. I missed that part while I'm writing. That's my third error, if you're counting. With this final ending, as indicated by the Prophet. What's the ending of the hadith? Hadith mentions that the angel will blow soul and whatever, and it will decree these four main things. But then it said there was an oath that someone would do good up to the end of their life, and if they end with evil, that's what they close with, or that someone was in a bad state, evil, doing the acts of the people of the North all the way up to the end. And then they end by doing something good. And that's what ends up to that. And that's why in other hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, يعمل الخير أو الشر فيما يبدو للناس. What appears to people. And the Sahaba learned this practically. Sometimes they praise someone, the Prophet ﷺ say he's from the people of the fire. It's confused. We just saw him doing this. And then they saw him when he came to his end, he would end on a bad deed. And then, so that's what the Prophet ﷺ meant, right? Or vice versa. Someone is praised or something, and then he realized that their ending changed. So that's what it means, shaqiyyun wa sa'id. That Allah knows the ultimate end of the person. And shaqa and sa'ada here is not meant in the psychological sense, that I'm happy and not happy. My siblings are gonna just drive me nuts. And then when I finally get married, he's gonna also drive me nuts. And then when I go to the boss, he's gonna drive me. Is there anyone gonna make me happy? No, it's not like that, inshallah, right? It's the same principles, inshallah. Let's remember that even when hardships come, we have that benefit that we started with. We know, it's not happening at random. Everything is from the care and measurement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That should make us have trust and tawakkul in Him. We do our best, and which we can relieve, we relieve, and we can improve, we improve, and we work. And that's why I close with Salat al-Istikhara or Dua al-Istikhara, because I think it gathers a lot of these meanings in a less theological way, more of a worship way, which I think is a nice ending. Good. Like Salat al-Istikhara, I'm pretty sure is known to everyone. It's choosing what is better, or asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us choose what is better. That either happens either when we're in a total dilemma, somewhat of a dilemma. By the way, even if you're originally inclined to something, but you have multiple choices, one can always do istikhara on all of these. Okay, and it's from its language. Istikhara talab al khair, right? You're asking Allah for good. Okay. عند دعاء اللهم إني أستخيرك بعلمك وأستقدرك بقدرتك وأسألك من فضلك. It's a beautiful dua. وأسألك من فضلك العظيم فإنك تقدر ولا أقدر وتعلم ولا أعلم وأنت علام الغيوب. اللهم إن كنت تعلم أن هذا الأمر خير لي في ديني ومعاشي وعاقبة أمري فاقدره لي ويسره لي ثم بارك لي فيه. وإن كنت تعلم أن هذا الأمر شر لي في ديني ومعاشي وعاقبة أمري فاصرفه عني واصرفني عنه واقدر لي الخير حيث شئت. حيث كان ثم ردني به. And honestly, wallahi, this is a way to live your entire life. That's why I love this dua, and that's why I close. Wallah, I seek your guidance, right? Making a choice, right? That's what khira, istikhara. The sa and the sin and the ta is for choosing. Like istighfar, you're asking Allah to cover your mistake, right? By virtue of your knowledge, and I seek ability by virtue of your power, and I ask you of your great bounty. Let's pause there for a second. That's really the essence of Tawheed and Qadr. That's what we're taking so far. We know Allah's oneness and Allah's sifat, right? And we know Allah's taqdeer, which is part of His sifat. So that what? So that we submit back to Him. It's not to despair, nor to feel that we are Qarun, we have everything going our way, nothing can stop. No, it's being exactly in the middle. We realize who gives us the good and who with His wisdom afflicts us with things. طيب, and then what do? The nice starting point is always remembering who He is. That gives comfort. You know, I don't know. You have power, I don't have power. And not only that, huh? وَاسْأَلُكَ مِنْ فَضْلِكَ الْعَظِيمِ. I ask you by your great, and this is also part of aqaid. When we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need us, He's given not just us, He's given the people that rejected Him subhanahu wa ta'ala unending bounties. He keeps giving them till their last breath. All of that is bounties. So He's not going to give the people of Iman when they turn to Him. Of course, the ulama teach, of course, that should have us That should make us have husn al right? That we have what? Good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's continue. You know and I know not, and you are the knower of the unseen. And this future dilemma is unseen to me, right? It's not unseen to Allah. Okay? And if it was unseen, Allah knows all the unseen. Uh, sorry, yeah, it is ghaib, right? From our perspective. You get what I mean, even if I didn't uh, verbalize that in the best way. Astaghfirullah. Oh Allah, if you know that this matter, meaning when we mentioned the thing, right, is good for me first, yeah, priority in my deen, my religion, right, my livelihood, yeah, right, maash, where I'm living right now, right, and in the hereafter, aqibat amri, shaqiyun wa sa'id, right, okay, uh, then decree it for me and make it easy for me. And not only that, and bless me in it, ya salam, right? Because you can take something and you're not blessed. You have health, it's not blessed. You have wealth, it's not blessed, right? You have happiness, it's not blessed. It's not mubarak, right? Everything that we want it, even if it's little, even if it's much. When Allah gives it, then He gives us barakah. That's really the mark of success. And if you know that this matter, the opposite is bad for my religion, my livelihood, my worldly affairs in the hereafter, then turn it away from me and turn me away from it. Okay? And decree for me the good wherever it may be and make me content with it because it's not going to always come according to our desires. Okay? Sometimes, and Allah reminds us this, وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَخَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَشَرٌّ لَكُمْ. You might hate something and it's better for you. You might like something and it's worse for you. So when we remind ourselves that, okay, even if it comes that way, رَضِّنِي بِهِ. Make me content with it. That's beautiful. Full submission in the beginning, full submission in the end, and a clear idea of how things can turn out. And a clear prioritization of what I'm asking benefit in. Benefit me in my deen, benefit me in my life right now, right? And benefit me in the final outcome. And if it doesn't get me that, no matter what it is, no matter how so attached to it, I think it might be marriage, work. People always remember istikhara only in marriage. Marriage, work, right? Istikhara is in everything, right? These big things and even smaller things. They say that they would do even istikhara in like straps and things like that. You know, the Sahaba and the Salihin were different than us. Dua was always their companion, and this dua. And even one is not praying, one can make that dua, by the way. And even there's a shorter form of it. One can always do dua for guidance. Okay? Better than that is to put it after salah if you're praying, right? And better than that is, or yani, the highest, or let's say the ultimate practice of that is actually to do two extra rak'ahs with the dua, right? But one can do all three, whether the dua or the dua after any of the salahs that you do, or the dua after the two rak'ahs. Okay, so think about that, and I think the meanings of this dua is hopefully summarize a lot of the other questions. And since we have 5 minutes, I'm now going to turn to you. Now, what's your question? If it wasn't answered already.
I kind of forgot that one, but I have a new one.
Well, you have a new one. That's not fair. Mm.
Choose your own adventures kind of thing. Like all these. Have you ever read your own adventures? Like books that like kind of tell you pages like these are the choices. If you pick one, then go to page this. If you pick two, like these are all these options, and then you choose a page, and then from there your story changes. It's like there's all these options, and all these options have different other options it would go on to. It's kind of like that. Like we have choice, and there's, you know what I'm trying to say?
Kind of. So I'm waiting if you're just saying that and you're comparing it to something else or what's up?
To this I'm kind of like I have choice, but and there's all these options I could choose, but because the question is basically if I'm, this is where it is. If I'm doomed, like I was supposed to go to hell, right? No
Mm,
matter what I'm going to be doing, I was just that's where I kind of, and
okay.
let's say in wherever it's written that I'm supposed to be, or
Right.
there is a choice, and it's like okay, but if she does this, then she'll go to this, and you know what?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Like,
Or
from
if
what
it's
I understand,
both.
طبعاً Allah knows where everyone is going to go.
Mhm.
But we don't know that, nor do we have the capacity of kind of grasping it. But we have the capacity of understanding that, yeah, that's part of the ilm of Allah. And when the Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ about this, they asked, should we act? He said yes. Because we don't know other than being able to act. He didn't test us with know what I know. He tested us with here's Iman, believe in it and apply it. That's our choice. If we choose that, we'll get the consequence of that. We reject that, we get the consequence of that. But no one knows where they're going until the final end. So one has either a choice of turning to that and embracing it or rejecting it. But then they know if I embrace it, this will happen. And if I reject it, this will happen. But no one is forced in that area.
Like my question is basically there's infinite possibilities and Allah knows all of them, but
Of course.
we get to still choose our path, which
Sure, everybody chooses their path. No one is forced in the path that they took. So,
Mhm.
but Allah knows our ultimate end and we don't. But trying here, I think what would help you, trying to understand the perfect knowledge of Allah, you can only go so far.
Yeah.
And if you overthink about that, you'll probably fall into kind of like determinism. And the opposite is true. If let's say I don't think about that much, but if I think a lot about my choices, okay, what will end up happening is yes, I will have choices, and maybe I'll be a very practical person, or whatever. But this person, their test might not be in this area. Their test is when their choices don't go their way, they're gonna be absolutely crushed. Like I did everything because they don't think there's something greater going on. Because they could work for 20 years and then their farm burns and all goes in. 17 years of work. How are they gonna understand that? They only think it's only choices and I create the future. No, no. The way to do it is وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ. We have our mashia, but it's within the grand mashia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Does Allah knows everything? Yes, Allah knows it. Did Allah order us to do good? Yes, Allah ordered us to do good. Okay, maybe this will help you. In terms of good and bad, there's really four options. Okay, that Allah orders what's good and either wills it for a person, doesn't will it for a person, and orders us to stay away from evil and wills it from a person and doesn't will it for another person. But in all these, it's the choices of people. And the ulama use this example. They say Sayyidina Abu Bakr was ordered for Iman and Allah willed it for him. He picked it. This is what Allah wills. And Allah ordered Abu Jahl of Iman, right? But he didn't respond. This is part of his order, right? And he didn't fall into he didn't respond to that. And Allah forbade Sayyidina Abu Bakr of kufr, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr complied with that. He not fall into kufr. And Allah forbade kufr, and Abu Jahl fell into it. Neither was Abu Jahl compelled, and neither was Abu Bakr compelled. They were both in the choice. But the one who followed the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get the reward, will get the rida. And the one who didn't will not. And remember, accountability happens there in the areas of choice, not in the area of non-choice.
I guess what happens is when you read the Quran, it says that
Now,
Allah has, chosen uh, who um, who goes to does the good deed or goes to, and it's like, okay, well, then do I still have a choice then?
yes. No, no, طبعا. This is the knowledge, not the choice. Knowledge is an attribute of unveiling, not an attribute of change. The attribute that deals with change and things happening and not happening is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah never told us that I willed for everyone everything and nothing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, He tells us that whatever I will happen. But part of His will was the area of choice. He created beings that don't have any choice, and He created beings that have choice. That's part of His will. But then He tests the one with choice with the response, and doesn't just test the ones that don't respond or don't have even the capacity to respond with responsibility. That clearly shows we have responsibility. But one shouldn't over worry about what will happen at the end. But yeah, because someone can say, well, if I'm doomed, then what's the point of acting? Yeah, but that's kind of like that's a short thought from the shaitan. It's a correct statement to make us make a bad decision. Well, the right thing is the more I can flip it. Although that is a choice, the more I can flip it, I can say, "طب if I'm doomed to good, why ain't I maximizing? And why am I waiting till the last second? I should start from now." So you're right in the area of options, but one shouldn't just say, "Okay, here are the options," then maybe it's going to be bad. That's a trick from the shaitan. Yeah, there are options and we have to choose, but then one should put all their energy in choosing what's good. Not saying, okay, if it's already decreed or not, and no, that's the area where we are tested, and that's the area where we have clear choice, right? And that's why Allah in all the orders calls people with choices. أقيموا الصلاة آتوا الزكاة, right? احفظوا أيمانكم, like a bunch of Quranic commands that are for people with choice. Do this, don't do that. Does that help a bit?
Yeah.
Okay. خير. ماشي. Okay, I think we can't. Let's go. That's all. طيب, the essence of istikhara is that one thereby handing all their matters to Allah, Allah's knowledge, Allah's power, Allah's facilitation, Allah's great bounty. Right? And it's a meaning of us training ourselves on tawakkul and asking what is best in our deen, life, and hereafter. Right? Hopes that at the end that we become satisfied with whatever Allah facilitates, inshallah. Okay. That's why I close with a spiritual ending, because what and I don't know if this helps you. Remember, at the end, we have principles and we can study, but at the end of the day, guidance or even full understanding is really from Allah. So that's what you should turn to. One of my mashayikh used to say, people forget that the door of Aqidah is often the prayer mat, not the books. Books will teach and will learn, but for these things to be absorbed, it's often through salah and dua and so forth. Then one finds rest with the concepts that they're wrestling with. They settle, right? They settle, and sometimes in a way that one can't imagine. Although, like, they'll reread what they asked about before, and before they were kind of like uncomfortable with certain things, and some things became comfortable and digested and so forth. Because really, at the end of the day, it's iman. Very smart people have turned away from iman, and very average people have embraced iman. It's not really about intelligence. Right? Inshallah, all of you are smart, mashallah. Right? Iman really is, at the end of the day, about guidance. Right? So, hence ending with dua. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there's something still unclear, yeah, leave it for a bit, let it cook, and might clear up by then. Person in front of you had the same questions. Some of them stayed for quite a while with me, and then after a while, خلاص, they went away. They went away not because they ignored them. I studied, alhamdulillah. I read, I continue to read and whatever. But I think this combination of studies and worship and asking Allah for help, I think they settled and I'm comfortable with them and move on and putting my efforts in other things. And hopefully that happens with you and even more. Okay, good. I don't know if this was helpful. I hope it was. If not, it's just an attempt to recap Qadar and give some thoughts about it. Next week, inshallah, we'll go back to the text, and his line will be about the messengers and the angels and the books and so forth. So we'll talk about those and take the benefit of these, inshallah, continue our text with Allah Ta'ala. I think we have 3 more weeks.
It's 2 more.
2 more?
Until
I meant like today and 2 more. So I think, wallahu a'lam, we'll be very close to finishing. Because I think this one will be a lesson. Then there'll be a lesson about the Prophet ﷺ. I think there'll be only a final lesson in the Creed section about Sahaba, and then the section on the names of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. That's kind of not really from the core text; it's from the commentary. So hopefully these parts will probably be delayed to Ramadan. So we'll be almost done with the text before Ramadan, but we'll take the ending of the text along with the names of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala after Ramadan. بإذن
how many weeks are we going to do after Ramadan?
Good question. Uh, 2 to 3 maximum. Now, if I take all of April, don't hate me, inshallah. But you probably have exams and stuff like that, so busy. Like, خير, inshallah. Worst case scenario, even if we need to do the whole month or whatnot, any recordings are there. If you're able to catch them, good. If not, don't let it uh, interfere with your studies, and you'll have access to them and you'll be able to check them. ماشي. يلا بارك الله فيكم. For those who are staying for the next class, inshallah, I say, and I sent an email. I don't know if it reached. I can never know because there's no like send folder or anything. Next 2 weeks in the fifth class will be about Siyam. If any of you benefit from that, you're welcome to come, even if you're not enrolled in the class. If you want a refresher on the fiqh of Siyam, or just get a boost before attending other things in the class in the community, I'll be holding that inshallah in the next weeks. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Assalamu alaikum.
وإياكم وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Second read.
Is it okay to think that I'm trying to understand like something from